Elena slammed her palm against the emergency lockdown switch, plunging the corridor into pulsing red light. Marcus, pack your research. Now. The xenobiologist fumbled with data tablets, shoving them haphazardly into a reinforced case. They shouldn't know about this yet, he muttered, hands trembling as security alarms wailed. I've only shared my findings with you. Through the security feed, Elena watched 3 shadowy figures moving with inhuman grace through the facility's lower levels. They weren't using weapons. They didn't need to. Security officers who intercepted them simply collapsed. We've got 5 minutes before they reach this level, Elena calculated, grabbing her sidearm. What exactly did you discover that's worth killing for? Marcus activated a holographic display on his workstation. Brain scans floated in the air, human brains alongside alien neural structures. The Xalthori are pure energy beings now, but they evolved from physical forms eons ago. Their rigid thought patterns reflect that evolution, perfectly ordered, mathematically precise. But, he gestured excitedly, completely lacking what they call quantum neural leaps, the ability to make creative connections between unrelated concepts. The facility shuddered as something massive impacted a lower floor. The intruders were getting closer. Human brains make these connections constantly, Marcus continued, highlighting neural pathways that sparked with activity. It's how we invented poetry, music, art, and it's how we solve problems in unexpected ways. The Xalthori call it the spark, and they've been searching for it across the galaxy. Elena checked the ammo in her weapon. And now they've found it in us. Not just found it, Marcus corrected, powering down his equipment. Humans demonstrate more of this quality than any species they've encountered in millions of years. That's what this tournament is really about, testing how much spark we actually possess. The lab door hissed open as Aisha Okafor burst in, already dressed in tactical gear. The diplomat's usually perfect appearance was disheveled, a thin line of blood trickling from her temple. Transportation's ready, Commander. Jackson's holding the hangar, but we've lost contact with the rest of security. Elena nodded sharply. New plan. We're accepting the Xalthori invitation, but on our terms. Marcus, you're coming with us as our science advisor. But I'm not qualified for. You're the only one who understands what they're really looking for. Elena cut him off, helping him secure the case of research. If this crucible is a test of human creativity, we need you there to help us pass it. The 3 of them moved swiftly through emergency passages as the facility's lights flickered ominously. Elena's mind raced through tactical scenarios. If the Xalthori valued the human capacity for unpredictability and innovation, she would give them exactly what they wanted, just not in the way they expected. As they reached the hangar bay, Jackson Wade's massive form appeared in the doorway, his cybernetic eye glowing red in the emergency lighting. We've got company. Behind him, something that wasn't quite solid and wasn't quite energy slithered through the air. Get to the shuttle, Elena ordered, raising her weapon. Earth isn't ready for this fight yet, but after the crucible, we will be. That night, Elena gathered her team in their assigned quarters, a crystalline structure that continuously adapted to their comfort preferences in ways that were both fascinating and slightly unsettling. The walls pulsed with soft bioluminescence as they huddled around a makeshift signal dampener Jackson had cobbled together from spare parts. We can talk freely now, Jackson said, his cybernetic eye scanning for surveillance. They can't hear us, but we've only got 30 minutes before the dampener burns out. Elena pulled up holographic schematics of the competition arenas they'd managed to glimpse during their tour. The Dratchid have won 20 consecutive crucibles because they've mastered the traditional approach to each challenge. But that's actually their weakness. They can only see solutions they've used before. Aisha nodded, her diplomatic training allowing her to pick up on subtleties the others might miss. I watched Krexenar during the orientation. When the Xalthori mentioned potential rule adjustments, his scales shifted color slightly. He's worried about unexpected changes. That's our edge. Alina said, highlighting various sections of the arena. They expect us to play by their established patterns. We won't. Marcus paced excitedly, nearly walking through the holographic display. I've been analyzing contestant data from previous crucibles. Every species approaches problems according to their evolutionary history. Silicon-based quorums start with structural foundations and build systematically. Mithrani create complex interconnected networks. Drachid establish dominance hierarchies. And humans? Jackson asked. We improvise, Alina answered with a slight smile. We create tools from whatever's available. We form teams based on complementary skills rather than genetic similarity. And most importantly, we're unpredictable, Aisha finished. Even to ourselves sometimes. A soft chime indicated someone approaching their quarters. The team quickly disbanded their meeting, with Jackson discreetly deactivating the dampener. The crystalline door shimmered and became transparent, revealing 3 Mithrani standing outside, their segmented bodies gleaming under the corridor lights. Enter, Alina called, her posture deliberately relaxed while her mind raced through defensive scenarios. The lead Mithrani stepped forward, multiple limbs moving in perfect synchronization. Commander Reyes, we observe your team's assessment of the competition grounds. Most newcomers spend their time admiring our technology. You were analyzing. Its mandibles clicked in what might have been appreciation. Alina maintained a neutral expression. We're guests here. It's important to understand our surroundings. Indeed, the Mithrani's compound eyes reflected fractured light. The Drachid have requested you be disqualified before the first challenge. They claim humans are too primitive to compete. And what was the sulfury response? Aisha asked smoothly. They denied the request. With unusual interest. The Mithrani leaned closer. The humans are being watched most carefully. This has not happened in 7,000 cycles. After the Mithrani departed, Alina turned to her team. They're testing us even before the challenges begin. Every conversation, every reaction. It's all part of their assessment. Marcus looked up from his data tablet, eyes wide. The first challenge starts tomorrow. Intelligence test under psychological stress. Perfect. Alina said with determination. Let's show them how humans think when pushed to our limits. Alina studied the Mithrani delegation waiting outside their quarters, noting the subtle differences in their exoskeletal patterns. This group wasn't the same as their earlier visitors. These merchants carried themselves with greater authority, their compound eyes reflecting calculated interest rather than mere curiosity. Commander Reyes, the lead Mithrani's translator, buzzed. Your performance was unexpected. We wish to discuss potential cooperation. Alina gestured them inside while signaling Jackson to remain vigilant. I'm listening. The Mithrani settled onto specially designed perches, multiple limbs folding with practiced precision. The Drachid have controlled interstellar shipping routes for 6 centuries, imposing tariffs that strangle developing worlds. Their monopoly persists because no species has defeated them in the Crucible. Until today, Aisha interjected smoothly. Precisely. The Mithrani's mandibles clicked rapidly, their version of appreciative laughter. We control vast trade networks but lack political authority to challenge Drachid supremacy. An alliance with humanity could be mutually beneficial. Alina's tactical mind quickly assessed the opportunity. What exactly are you proposing? Information. The Mithrani replied. Regarding the next challenges, the environmental compositions, the gravitational variables, the resource distribution patterns, details not provided to contestants. Marcus looked up sharply from his analysis equipment. You have access to that data. We are merchants, the Mithrani answered simply. Information is our most valuable commodity. Alina leaned forward. And what would you want in return? When humans achieve prominent standing in the Crucible, and we believe you will support Mithrani petitions for unrestricted access to the primary trade corridors. Nothing more. After the Mithrani departed, Alina's team debated the offer vigorously. It's too convenient. Jackson argued, his cybernetic eye scanning for surveillance devices the visitors might have left behind. No one offers valuable intelligence without hidden motives. But we need whatever advantage we can get, Aisha countered. The next challenges test physical capabilities where we're naturally disadvantaged. Elena turned to Marcus, who had been unusually quiet. What are you thinking? He projected his findings onto the wall, complex energy patterns harvested from the competition arena. These readings don't make sense. The Xalthori aren't just measuring our performance metrics. They're scanning deeper brain activity patterns, particularly during moments of creative problem-solving. When we make those quantum neural leaps you mentioned, Elena realized. Exactly. And look at this. Marcus highlighted a familiar energy signature. This same pattern appeared in our quarters after the Mithrani's first visit, and again just now. They're working with the Xalthori. Jackson tensed. Or being used by them, Elena concluded. Either way, I think I know how to play this. She activated their secure communication channel to Earth. We need to request something from the historical archives, ancient game theory strategies from a specific source. What source? Aisha asked. Elena's lips curved into a slight smile. A 20th century Earth film called The Princess Bride. We're going to give the Xalthori exactly what they're looking for. Humans thinking at our most unpredictable. The Xalthori council chamber hummed with energy as the beams communicated in patterns of light too rapid for most species to comprehend. Their discussion, however, was being carefully recorded and analyzed by Marcus's specialized equipment, hidden within his environmental suit. The human neural patterns show unprecedented flexibility. Counselor Xanath's thoughts rippled. They don't just adapt to environments. They reshape their entire cognitive approach based on circumstances. It could be meaningless variation. Another counselor countered. Random neural firing mistaken for purposeful adaptation. No, Xanath insisted. Observe the progression through the crystal strength challenge. They didn't attempt to match other species' physical capabilities. They fundamentally reconceptualized the problem itself. A third counselor pulsed with concern. If they possess the spark in such abundance, our prophecies suggest two possible outcomes. They could become the inheritors we've sought for 50 millennia. Or they could become the chaos that unmakes all order. Finished a fourth, its energy pattern darkening. The ancient warnings were clear. Meanwhile, Elena's team recuperated in their quarters, exhausted but triumphant after completing the adaptability challenge. Jackson nursed a burn on his arm from the sulfuric atmosphere, while Aisha organized their dwindling supply of emergency equipment. We've depleted almost everything we brought, she reported. One more challenge like that, and we'll have nothing left to improvise with. Elena studied the holographic rankings. Despite their unconventional methods, humans now stood in 4th position overall, an unprecedented achievement for a newcomer species. The Dratchet maintained 1st place, but their lead had narrowed significantly. The resource management challenge begins tomorrow, she noted. This one's less about physical capabilities and more about strategy. Marcus looked up from his analysis terminal, eyes wide with excitement. Elena, I've decoded part of the Xalthori Council's communication from earlier today. They're divided about us. Some see humans as potential inheritors of something, while others view us as a threat. Inheritors of what? Jackson asked, wincing as he applied regenerative gel to his burn. I'm not sure yet, Marcus admitted, but they keep referring to something called the spark when discussing our performance. They're measuring it somehow through our neural patterns during problem solving. A soft alert chimed from Aisha's diplomatic channel. We've received a message from the quorum, she announced, surprise evident in her voice. They're requesting an alliance for the resource management challenge. First the Mithrani, now the quorum, Jackson muttered. Suddenly, everyone wants human friends. Elena considered the development thoughtfully. The power dynamics are shifting. We're no longer seen as irrelevant newcomers. We're potential kingmakers in a new galactic order. Or pawns being positioned by multiple players, Aisha cautioned. Helena nodded, her expression resolute. Then let's be unpredictable pawns. Marcus, what did Earth send regarding that 20th century strategy I requested? He grinned, pulling up a data file. It's all here. The Princess Bride approach to contests of wit, when both sides try to outsmart each other through layers of deception. Sometimes the winning move is the one nobody would rationally make. Perfect, Elena said. For the Resource Management Challenge, we're going to build something the galaxy has never seen before. Elena paced the medical bay, watching Marcus's vital signs on the monitoring screen. The toxin had been neutralized, but he remained weakened, his breathing shallow. Jackson stood guard at the door, his expression dark with suspicion. Who had access to his environmental controls? Elena demanded. Only our team, the facility maintenance drones, and Jackson hesitated. The Mithrani, Elena finished. They were supposed to be our allies. Aisha entered, her diplomatic composure strained. I've spoken with the Mithrani representative. They deny any involvement, claiming their trade agreement with the Drachid is purely coincidental and unrelated to Marcus's accident. Convenient timing, Jackson growled. Right after they access our simulation network, our xenobiologist who's been decoding sulfuric communications nearly dies. On the bed, Marcus stirred, eyes fluttering open. Elena, he whispered, voice raspy. Need to show you what I found. His trembling fingers tapped a sequence on his personal data tablet. Encrypted files appeared on the main display. Ancient sulfuric communication logs dating back thousands of years, interspersed with biological diagrams of various species' neural structures. How did you access these? Elena asked, amazed. Their archival system has patterns. Marcus managed. Mathematical sequences that repeat, like music. Once I recognized the rhythm, I could predict access pathways. The files revealed a startling history. The Xalfori had once been physical beings with bodies resembling luminescent aquatic creatures. Their evolution to energy-based life had occurred gradually over millions of years, a deliberate process of transcendence they called the Great Ascension. They gained so much, Marcus explained, his strength gradually returning. Near immortality, vast intelligence, the ability to perceive dimensions beyond normal spacetime. But they lost something critical in the process. He highlighted comparative neural scans, early Xalfori brains alongside their current energy patterns. The physical structure that allowed for intuitive leaps, for creativity. It's gone. They call it the spark. And they've been searching the galaxy for species that possess it in abundance. Elena studied the records with growing understanding. The Crucible isn't about redistributing power among existing players. It's about finding successors. Exactly. Marcus nodded. The Xalfori are dying out. Their perfect energy forms can't evolve further or adapt to new challenges. They need inheritors for their knowledge before they fade away completely. And we're showing more of this spark than they've seen in millennia, Aisha concluded. That's why they're monitoring our thought patterns so closely. A notification blinked on Elena's comm device. The resource management simulation results had been finalized. Despite the Mithrani betrayal, humanity had secured third place through their innovative approach to sustainable development. The final challenge starts tomorrow, Elena said. Warfare strategy. They'll expect us to rely on Earth military doctrine. But we won't, Jackson smiled grimly. No, Elena agreed. If the Xalfori want to see human creativity in action, we'll show them something they've never imagined. We'll target the one thing no species has ever questioned in a crucible. What's that? Aisha asked. Elena's expression was determined. The rules of the game itself. The warfare simulation reached its critical phase. Elena's unconventional strategy had kept human forces competitive, but the combined might of the Drachid coalition was gradually overwhelming their defenses. Spectators from across the galaxy watched with fascination as the supposedly primitive humans continued to defy expectations. They're trying to force us into a corner, Jackson observed, tracking enemy fleet movements across their tactical display. Classic encirclement strategy. Elena studied the simulation parameters carefully. For hours, she had directed minimal resources to conventional engagement, focusing instead on gathering intelligence about each species' psychological vulnerabilities. Now it was time to implement the final phase. Aisha, deploy the psychological warfare packages we prepared for the Drachid command structure, Elena ordered. Jackson, execute the precision strikes we mapped against the Vril Collective's communication nodes. Within moments, the Drachid formations began to falter as their leadership received contradictory information about human intentions. The Vril Collective's gaseous ships drifted out of formation, their coordination disrupted by targeted information attacks rather than conventional weapons. It's working, Aisha confirmed, but it won't hold them for long. In the observation chamber, representatives from competing species watched with growing unease. The humans weren't following any recognizable warfare doctrine. They seemed to be fighting not just the enemy forces, but the very nature of the simulation itself. Marcus, still recovering but insistent on monitoring the final challenge, detected something crucial in his analysis feed. Elena, I've confirmed my theory about the Xalfori, he transmitted urgently. Their energy patterns respond to specific frequencies generated by human brains during creative problem-solving. It's like it resonates with them, almost like a form of nourishment. How does that help us? Elena asked, rapidly adjusting defensive parameters as the Drachid adapted to her psychological tactics. The simulation isn't just measuring our decisions, it's built on Xalfori computational architecture, Marcus explained, which means it should respond to the same frequencies that affect them. Elena's eyes widened with understanding. You're saying we could affect the simulation itself, not just our forces within it. Exactly. If you could generate the right kind of thought patterns, the kind of radical, creative leaps they're looking for, while interfacing with the system. Elena turned to her team. New strategy. I need you all to maintain conventional defense while I try something unprecedented. She connected her neural interface directly to the command console, bypassing standard protocols. Instead of directing her forces against the enemy, Elena began probing the underlying structure of the simulation itself, searching for inconsistencies and artificial constraints in its design. What is she doing? Krexnar demanded in the observation chamber, scales flaring with agitation. The Xalfori observers pulsed with unprecedented patterns of energy as they detected Elena's approach. The human wasn't just playing the game. She was questioning why the game was structured to ensure conflict rather than cooperation. Elena found what she was looking for. Buried deep in the simulation parameters were artificial triggers that made resources scarce and territories contested when they needn't be. The simulation was designed to force competition, when collaboration would yield better results for all participants. The true test isn't about winning a war, she whispered to herself as her fingers flew across the interface. It's about recognizing when warfare itself is the problem. The Xalfori Council chamber fell silent as Elena finished speaking. The representatives of dozens of species stood frozen, struggling to process her claims. Krexnar's scales had paled to an ashen gray, while the Mithrani delegation's antennae vibrated with what might have been fear or anticipation. High Counselor Xaneth's energy form descended until it hovered just above the chamber floor, its brilliance dimmed to allow others to look directly at it. When it spoke, the thought voice was gentler than before, tinged with what Elena recognized as profound weariness. In 10 million years, Commander Rise, you are the first to see both the test and its purpose so clearly. Murmurs rippled through the gathered delegates as the implications sank in. The Drachid representatives hissed in disbelief while the silicon-based quorum clicked their crystalline appendages in agitation. The Xalfori have ruled for eternity, protested one delegate. They cannot simply end. Nothing is eternal, Xaneth responded, its energy patterns shifting to display complex mathematical equations that somehow translated directly into concepts. We began as physical beings, evolved to energy, and now approach our final transition. But we cannot leave the galaxy without guidance. Alina stood her ground, refusing to be intimidated by the ancient being. You've been searching for a species with the capacity to innovate in ways you no longer can. A species that could learn from your accumulated knowledge without being constrained by it. We have observed humanity for centuries, Xaneth confirmed. Your kind creates art that serves no survival purpose. You develop mathematics for beauty rather than utility. You sacrifice individual advantage for collective benefit. And most crucially, you embrace paradox rather than fearing it. The chamber's display systems activated, showing montages of human history, cave paintings beside quantum equations, symphony orchestras alongside space launches, children playing interspersed with heated philosophical debates. This is the spark, Xaneth explained to the stunned audience. The capacity to hold contradictory ideas simultaneously, to generate solutions that follow no logical progression yet solve problems logic cannot touch. Alina glanced at her team, drawing strength from their presence. And you believe humans possess this quality in abundance. We know you do. Your performance in the Crucible merely confirmed what we had hoped. The counselor's energy brightened momentarily. The question now is whether humanity is prepared to accept the responsibility that comes with this revelation. Aisha stepped forward, her diplomatic training perfect for this moment. What exactly would that responsibility entail, High Counselor? To guide galactic civilization without controlling it. To preserve knowledge without becoming enslaved by tradition. To nurture the spark in all species, not just your own. Alina considered the enormity of what was being proposed. Humanity, barely a unified planetary government, was being offered stewardship of an entire galaxy's future. We would need time, she said carefully, and we would not rule as you have. Humanity believes in self-determination for all sentient beings. Xaneth's energy form pulsed with what Alina somehow knew was approval. That, Commander Reyes, is precisely why you were chosen. Alina adjusted her formal robes one last time before entering the grand chamber of the Concordat. The garment combined elements from dozens of worlds. Drachid scale weave for strength, Mithrani silk for flexibility, Quorum crystal accents for clarity of purpose, and simple earth cotton for comfort. It symbolized everything the new galactic order represented. Diversity unified by common purpose. As the massive doors parted, the assembled representatives rose in acknowledgement. 3 years had transformed the suspicious competitors into cautious collaborators, though tensions still simmered beneath the diplomatic veneer. The anomaly has accelerated its approach. Alina began without preamble, gesturing toward the holographic display dominating the chamber center. The swirling mass at the galaxy's edge pulsed with colors that shouldn't exist in normal spacetime. Our sensors indicate it will reach the outer rim within 7 standard cycles. Krexenar, now serving as defense coordinator despite his initial resistance to human leadership, stepped forward. His once hostile demeanor had evolved into grudging respect. The combined fleet stands ready, he reported, scales shimmering with embedded battle commendations. 27 species contributing vessels according to their capabilities. A fighting force unprecedented in galactic history. We don't know that fighting is the answer, Alina reminded him gently. The multispecies science team believes this may be an intelligence beyond our comprehension, not necessarily a threat. At the mention of science, Alina glanced toward the research delegation, where Marcus directed operations. His recovery had been complete, and his work integrating diverse scientific approaches had produced breakthroughs that would have been impossible under the old segregated system. Dr. Chen, please update the assembly on your findings, Alina requested. Marcus activated his presentation matrix, filling the chamber with intricate data patterns. Our analysis suggests the anomaly may be attempting communication through dimensional distortions. By combining sulfuri energy perception, human intuitive pattern recognition, and quorum crystalline computing, we've begun decoding what appears to be a mathematical language. The last of the sulfuri advisors, their numbers dwindling as they approached their final transition, pulsed with approval. Their vast knowledge was now housed in a distributed network accessible to all member species, with humans often serving as interpreters of concepts too abstract for literal translation. This is precisely why the Concordat exists, Elena reminded the assembly. No single species could address this challenge alone. Together, we possess capabilities none of us could achieve individually. As the meeting concluded, Elena found a moment of solitude at the observation window. The view showed ships of countless designs moving in harmony through the complex traffic patterns of Concordat space. Nearby, a Drachid warship escorted a human scientific vessel, while Mithrani traders negotiated with recently admitted representatives from a developing carbon-based civilization. Zaneth's energy form approached, now so faint it was barely visible. "You have exceeded our highest expectations, Elena Reyes," the thought voice whispered. "We feared you might create merely a human empire. Instead, you built something far more valuable. A true community of equals." Elena smiled, watching a group of children from 6 different species playing in the station's educational center. "That's the final lesson we had to offer the galaxy. True power isn't about control. It's about creating conditions where everyone can contribute their unique spark to the whole."